Begin the current Daf Mesechta is Succah Daf Nun Beis. Begin on the bottom of the Nalman Beis, 2 lines up and bottom of the Yomit, where the Gemara continues the discussion regarding this great takana that they did by the Simchas Beis She'eva for the Inyanim of Tznias of keeping the men and the women separate by the great Simchas Beis She'eva. She's discussing about Kazakh and Cheskel 10 Daf Acham B'Shem Shon in today's Daf. Something that's discussed in today's Daf are how were they allowed to add a balcony to the Beis Hamikdash? You're adding on to the construction. Insights regarding the Yitzhahara and Mashiach, more details about the celebration of Simchas Beis She'eva. So we keep them in the context discussing today's Daf of Mashiach ben Yosef. There's two Mashiachs. Mashiach ben David is going to end up being the king of the Jewish people. Mashiach ben Yosef is going to fight the final wars. Whoever is greater than his friend, his yetzer, his inclination, his taivas are greater than the other person. Yetzer shalom miskav l'b'chol is the idea that the Yitzhahara constantly makes himself stronger against a person every single day. Atbach is a certain way of changing the letters, which is you go based on tens or hundreds or 500s, which the aleph and tes is 1 and 9 of the group of tens, so you can switch aleph and tes, based on ches, and so on and so forth, where it's a little bit like adbash, but not with the whole aleph base, but specifically in groups of tens or hundreds, meaning capital yud is in the single digit category. Then you go to that of the hundreds, and so to 500s. But Avram Hadras Melech is the pasuk that the multitude of people is the beauty of the king. So we begin the current Daf Nanaf Amid Beis on 2 lines up at the bottom of the Amid. We had said that they went and made these gezustras, they made these upper stories that the women should sit on the top and the men on the bottom to prevent frivolity during the Simchas Beis She'eva. And that the Gemara says, how they do this, that they added on and they changed from the construction of anything that Shlomo Melech had done. But V'ksiv the pasuk in the B'yam Aleph by David HaMelech, when he commanded his son Shlomo regarding the construction and the measurements of the Beis Hamikdash, he says, wait a second, Shlomo, Hakol b'chsav, everything is written, B'yad Hashem, in the hand of Hashem, Alai Hiskel, he gave me that understanding, all the malachas of the structure of the Beis Hamikdash, Hashem let him be known through God, HaChayze and Nasna Navi, that has to be exactly as it is. So how were they able to add on to the construction in the Beis Hamikdash? So Rabbi says, yeah, because Krash B'Darshu, they found a pasuk and they expounded it that you have to separate men from women. And that's to make a boundary in the Jewish people that they shouldn't come to a bad state. As the pasuk, as we continue on the top of Mendez Manach, the pasuk says in Zechariah, the prophecy of Zechariah that is prophecy regarding the future, that they're going to eulogize Mashiach ben Yosef, who's going to be killed in the Milchama of Gog and Magog, which can be the apocalypse, the final war. And it says, V'safta ha'aretz mishpachas levad. The land is going to eulogize every family by themselves, mishpachas beis David levad, the family of the house of David by itself, and the shem levad, and the women by themselves. So you see that even at a time of pain, you have to separate by levaya men from women. Somebody said like this, if in the future they're engaged in a eulogy, and at that time a person is in pain, he's not fooling around so quickly. And moreover, at that point in time, there's no evil inclination that even rules over a person, like the pasuk says, as the Gemara is going to explain later on. It says, Hashem says he's going to slaughter the Yitzhahara in the future. And still, a Torah is telling us that men have to be separate and women have to be separate. Now that you're engaged in joy, and it's very easy to get to Kalas Rosh, to lightheadedness when you're in a happy state. And moreover, today's times, the evil inclination rules over people. All the more so that we have to have a separation of men and women. And that pasuk told us we're allowed to add on to the construction for that reason. Now the Gemara wonders, what is this eulogy that you're quoting in pasuk Zechariah? So, although we just interpreted one way, it's actually pleading about Abdesim with abundance. Machlekes. Chadam one says, and this is going to get into a whole discussion, one says on Mashiach ben Yosef Shenerik, as we just said, that's regarding Mashiach ben Yosef, who, when he's going to be killed, they're going to eulogize him. Chadam one says, Al Yitzhahar Shenerik, it's for the evil inclination, who we just alluded to before, that's when the evil inclination can be killed. So the Gemara says, wait a second, Mishlam Nama Wimson, according to one that says, Al Mashiach ben Yosef Shenerik, regarding Mashiach ben Yosef that he's killed. Hainak Sibit says, and they look at me. Isa Shadoku, this that they pierced, which means they're going to look at the one who was murdered in front of them. But Safdullah, they're going to eulogize over him. Like eulogising like his only son that he had that died. That's how precious, that's how sad they're going to be when this, whoever it is that we're talking about here, is going to die. So it makes sense for Mashiach ben Yosef because he was the great leader fighting all the wars. But according to one that says, it's the Yitzhahara, the evil inclination that was killed. Hi, has paid the Ba'alev. You make a eulogy? Simcha Ba'alev. You should make a joy. Amai Bacha, why are they crying? So the Gemara says, a famous teaching, in the future, and he's going to mean the evil inclination, and he's going to slaughter the Yitzhahara in front of the righteous people, in front of the wicked people. Tzadikim nidlam k'hargavai, the righteous people, it's going to appear like a huge mountain. That this Yitzhar was a huge thing for them. But and the wicked, to look like a strand of a hair, like a little nothing. And they're both going to be crying for very different reasons. Tzadikim from the righteous are going to cry because they're going to recall how painful it was. You know how hard it is for the righteous to live their lives, to conquer the wickedness in their lifetime? They're going to say, hey, how is it possible that we conquered this huge mountain? And then they're going to be crying. The wicked are going to cry for a very different reason. But too late. How is it possible that we couldn't conquer this hair's breadth? That was all it was? And I was such a foil mensch, I was so weak, I couldn't even conquer that? So therefore, that's why they're crying. Again, for very different reasons, but yeah, everyone's going to cry when the Yitzhahara is going to be slaughtered. And even the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to wonder with the righteous how they did it. Because it says in the pasuk in Zechariah, so says Hashem, the Lord of hosts. It's going to be a wonder in the eyes of the remnants of the people in those days, like how they do this. And Gam Be'ena Yipol says, and my eyes also wonder how do they do this incredible feat that Tzadikim did. Now continuing on this theme regarding the Yitzhahara, Omer Ba'asi says Yitzhahara, the inclination, in the beginning, he's compared to a thread from a spider. We know how thin that is, it's like almost like a nothing. And at the end, when the person continues drawing himself after it, it gets stronger and stronger. It becomes like a rope of a wagon, these strong ropes that have to hold the wagon. That's how an addiction, that's how a virus, that's how it happens. It starts like a little nothing. Somebody says, what does this mean? Woe for those who are moishchei. They draw the sin. In other words, in the beginning, they bring it on themselves like a nothing. With ropes of nothingness. But then, then they're sinning like the thick ropes that you tie a cow for the plowing. That's how thick it becomes. So to continue on this term, remember the Brisa, the Sheikh David, the Mashiach, the Messiah of the son from the Davidic dynasty, Sha'asli Golas, the Mary that will ultimately be rebuilt speedily in our days. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to tell him, Sha'amin and David, ask from me something and I'll give it to you. Somebody says the boss can tell him, Asapra, he says, I'll say over this thing, El Chayk, to be a chayk, which means like a recollection, like a memory, etc., which the pasuk says, Hashem Amal, Hashem says to me, B'ni'ata, you're my son, etc. I today have given birth to you. Meaning, I'm going to reveal to the people that you're my son. Ask me and I'll give the nations as your inheritance. Now, but once he saw Mashiach ben David, when he saw that Mashiach ben Yosef is going to be killed, it says in front of Hashem, Rebbeinu asked the world, I see Mashiach ben Yosef that he died. As we mentioned before, he's going to be the one that's going to die. That was the person in Zechariah. Says, look, I'm not asking him anything, I just want to live. Oimelech said, Chayim? For life? Actually, Marta, until you didn't even say anything, your father David already prophesied regarding you that you can live. Somebody says the pasuk in Tehillim, it says, Chaim Shalom, he asked from you life, you gave him, etc., which the pasuk that says, you're going to live, don't worry, you're not going to die. Now, going back to the Yitzhahara that we mentioned, there's 7 names that the Yitzhahara has. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Karibah, Hashem calls him bad, evil. Somebody says the pasuk Bereshis, because the inclination of the heart of a man, is evil from when he's young. So Hashem calls the Yitzhahara Ra. Moshe calls it uncircumcised. Like it says in the book of the Bar. That he's going to circumcise the uncircumcised part of your heart, calling it Oral. David calls it impure. Like it says in the book of the Leiv tar bar liakim, a pure heart God created for me. Obviously, there's the impure, which is the Yitzhahara. Shloimi Kari Sunday, someone calls him the enemy. Like it says in the pasuk of Mishlei. In Merov Sanacha, if the enemy is hungry, meaning your evil inclination is hungry and desiring to do a sin, Hachileo lechem, feed him bread. What does that mean? The word lechem also has from the word of milchama. Then go ahead and engage him in the milchamta shel Torah, like it says l'chu lachem, malachim referring to Torah. And if you engage in Torah, you'll be able to weaken the Yitzhahara. So from some, if he's thirsty, hashkiyim, give him water to drink, which refers to Torah, like a famous pasuk, whoever's thirsty, go to water, which means the Torah. If you learn Torah, and then you're going to be pouring hot coals on his head, and Hashem's going to even pay you for this. Which another drusha in this is Al Tikri Shamlach. Don't read that Hashem will pay you for this. He's going to make that. This is a very big, deep insight. He's going to make that your Yetzer is complete with you and actually loves you, and he's actually not even going to try to entice you to sin and to destroy for the world, because you can actually use you're going to use all those as Tzaddik is busy with all your dinyan that you have and all the taivas in the world, you can use it for Chidushei Torah. If you engage in Torah, your Yetzer Hara is going to work with you, and he's actually going to become a partner with you. He's not going to try to take you away. And that's what the pasuk means. Hashem Yishalmach. Yeshayahu Kara Michshel. He calls it a stumbling block. The Yetzer Hara. Like says Bas in Yeshaya. Soilu, pave the way, Panu Derech, clear the path. Remove the Michshel, the stumbling block, from the path of my people. You see, the Yetzer Hara is called a Michshel. Yecheskel Kara Evan. Yecheskel calls it a stone. Like says Bas in Yecheskel. I'm going to remove the heart of stone from your flesh. And I'm going to give you a heart of flesh. So you see, it's called the Evan, the stone. But Yoel Karid Tzvaini. Yoel calls the Yetzer Hara the hidden one, as the Gemara is going to explain, because he's hidden in the heart of a person. Somebody says, Yoel. So Tzvaini Archid Malech, and the hidden one I'm going to distance from you, which term one of Raisa. The hidden one I'm going to distance from you. This refers to Yetzer Hara. Why is it called the hidden one? Because we don't realize, and that's what Musar is all about, how hidden he is in the heart of a person. You think you know the Yetzer Hara's mom is telling you, whispering in your ear, and you're listening to everything he's saying. And the pasuk there continues, Hashem is saying how he's going to distance the Yetzer Hara from us. And I'm going to push him away to a forlorn and desolate land, which is that he doesn't have people to provoke over there. Because his face was towards the first sea, which refers to that he placed his eyes specifically, on the big prize for him, which is the first base of English, was like the Yam, which is like the sea. Why is it like the sea? Because all the people in the world gathered over there like the sea, which all the streams go over there. And he destroyed the first base of English, and he killed out all the Talmudic scholars over there. And the pasuk continues in the and his end was that he went for this the last sea. That he went and he looked at the second base of English. And he destroyed that too. And he also killed out the Talmudic scholars over there too. And the pasuk continues, that he caused all this stench of rot and filth, because he leaves the nations of the world, the Yetzer Hara, it doesn't bother with them. And he provokes specifically the enemy, so to speak, euphemistically, meaning a guy Yidin, all he tries to get is the Jewish people. As the pasuk says, more of a kihig delasik, because he tries doing the big stuff. Amabaya, what does this mean? And you know who he really tries to get? Because he wants the big prize? He says, more than them all. As the Gemara brings a fascinating story, Kiha, which is one of the most, I have like a series called Paradoxical Ponderables, when certain things you get down on certain things. This is one of the classic Gemaras that you understand, you feel so down that you're provoked or incited or by certain things. You'll see from this Gemara that it's the exact opposite. Abaye heard a certain man, he was talking to a certain woman, and he says, let's go and travel let's get up early before it becomes daytime, and let's go on this journey together. So Abaye said to himself, I got to stop this guy from doing something wrong, because these guys are getting up early in the morning, this guy and this girl, it's not good. Also, that's right, he went after them 3 parsa in like swampland, and they were traveling together. When they were separate from each other, because they were from 2 different cities, and when they came to the crossroads, he had to go one way, she had to go another way. He heard them saying, it's a faraway distance between our 2 homes, our 2 locations, we can't go together. But it was, if we could go together in the same path, it was so geshmak, it was so enjoyable, your company, your companionship. Abaye says, if my enemy was the one who was there secluded with this woman, he would not have been holding himself back from sinning. And when he says his enemy, he really is referring to himself. Abaye said, if he was the man with that woman, he would have done something prohibited. Also, he went and he like leaned himself on the bolt of a door, like a person who's thinking. He was in pain. He says, how is it possible? If I would have been this guy, and this guy is a nice conversation, very nice platonic relationship. So also this elderly man came along and suddenly he taught him a very, very important lesson. It says, what is greater than his friend, as a nation is greater than another person. You're right. For Abaye would have been impossible. Because he's a greater person, and the greater you are, the greater you test. All the great people are people that have melancholy and depressed, and they have all these different, because they're good. Yeshua's going for the big prize, coming after you. If you get this concept, it's a paradox in a way that you have to ponder and realize that it's exact opposite of how you see the world. Because you have this is a sign that you're greater. And Rabbi Yitzchak, he continues on this idea. Yitzchak Shalom, the inclination of a person is he strengthens himself on them every single day. I did work in a place with addictions many years ago, and the guy was saying, he's like, I know I'm doing work over here, but he didn't use Yitzhar, but my Yitzhar is doing push-ups in the parking lot. You know, like as much as he's doing work over here, Yitzhar Shalom is also megam l'chol yom. He's also figuring out ways and tactics, strengthening himself every day. Like he says, buzzing gracious. Rak, as he continues my day, is Rak kol yom. He's only evil all day, meaning all day he's adding on evil. He's trying to find more and more ways, getting stronger and stronger to take you down. Amr Shem Lakashi says, Yitzhak Shalom, the inclination of a person is Gabala b'chol yom, strengthens over the person every single day. Malak Shamisi wants to kill the person. Somebody says, "Passing and tell him." Sefer Rosh Latzadik, the wicked, referring to the Yetzer Hara, he's looking at the righteous. Malak Shamisi wants to kill him. And another famous teaching for Malak Kadosh Baruch Hu, and if not Kadosh Baruch Hu helping the person, he would not be able to conquer the Yetzer Hara. Like says the pasuk over there, it says Hashem is going to be Hashem is not going to leave him in his hand. But He's not going to make him wicked in his judgment. Another famous teacher, he told me Rabbi Shloimy, he says, if this menuvel, this filthy one, referring to the Yetzer Hara, encounters you, what should you do? You're being enticed. You have that technology in your hand. You should pull him into the Beis Medrash, and even who the Muach, if he's a stone, then he's going to dissolve. And if he's iron, he's going to shatter. What does this mean? If he's stone, he's going to dissolve. This is what it says. Oh, all you who are thirsty, go to the water, which Torah is alluded to as water. It says the stone is dissolved by the water. And the Barzal Mispait says, which takes to discuss exactly what is it, how do you translate this, but if it's iron, it's going to shatter. The says, Hashem says, my word is like fire. And like the hammer, you fight to tell that it's going to shatter the stone. So the fire that's going to bubble on the iron is going to shatter it, which is sparks that are sparking out from it. But you see that Torah is like water and like fire, which is either going to dissolve the stone that's your Yitzhar, or it's going to shatter that metal that a person is, because there's different types of Yitzhar. There's a lot of different commentary and interpretations on these ways of how it's referring to that of the Yitzhar. Amr Shmuel ben Nachman Rabbi Yonasan, it says Yitzhar mesisul ad ba'al mazeh. What's interesting is that the Yetzer Hara, it seduces a person in this world. He's like your friend. He's saying, come, let's go. And then in the next world, he's testifying against you. Like says the pasuk Mishlei. Mefanik minoyer, so he gets all the geschmack. Mefanik is like the delicacies when he's young. Is avdoi. It's his slave. Meaning the Yetzer Hara is a person's slave. If he wants to, he's given over to the person's hands. Like it says, v'atatim shaloi. So he's really there to serve you. At the end, he's going to be monon. What does that mean, manon? Shekain ba'atbach, Rabchia is atbach type of numerology. Currently sahad manon. You would call the witness as manon. Now the reason for this is interestingly, says Rashi, because in the Aleph base you have atbach, gaz, dav. Those are in the single digits, meaning up until 10, up until yud. And then you have yatz, chap, la, mas. That's in the hundreds. That goes up until kuf, which is in the digits, in the what we call double digits. And then you have, when you're getting to the hundreds, with the ender letters, the Sofa Tavis is Katz, Raf, Shan, and Tam. So kuf is 100, and then you have Sadi, which is 900. You have Reish 200. You have Pei, because again you're going from the other extreme. You're going from the bookends. Pei is 800, you have Shin, which is 300, you have Nun, which is 700, the Ender Nun, you have Tuf, which is 200, and you have the Ender Mem, which is 600, because again, it's going from the other number, and you go from the other extreme, getting closer. Those are the 2000s. And then you're left with Habach, which is the 5, the 50, and the 500, which the Hays, the middle letters, didn't have any partners, not in the tens, and not in the Nun for that of the hundreds, and not for the Endachaf, for the 2000s. So they're actually together, the Hanach, the Hey Nun and the Endachaf. So it comes out in the Seder of the Aleph base, Sahada is the same as Manoy. Because you have the Samach, again, Mem and Samach are together. So you switch the Samach and the Mem. You have that by Hey and Nun, they're also the same, like we said, Hanach is the same. Switch a Hey with the Nun. And you have Dal and Vav are partners, you switch Dal and Vav. and then you have a hey in the place of the nun. So actually the letters of manoin is actually going to be sahada. So that's why you see the pasuk is referring to that which is your slave, which is the Yetzer Hara, at the end will be manoin, will actually be a witness to testify against you. Continuing on this about the Yetzer Hara, Rav Huna Rami, he posed the following contradiction. On one hand, Exhibit says the pasuk in Hosea, ki ruach zenun and hissa, because a spirit of harlotry misleads a person. So it sounds like it's like coming from somewhere else. Yet a pasuk says later on, Bekirbam, that it's inside of them. Sounds like it's planted inside. So is the Yetzer Hara inside a person or outside? Betchila hissa, at the beginning it misleads the person from the outside. At the end, the Yetzer Hara is now he's inside. Similarly, as the Gemara says, Amar Rav says Betchila kar halach. In the beginning, Yetzer Hara is called that he's just passing by and he's not staying by you. At the end, he's called like a guest. At the end, he becomes the balabas. He's in charge. Somebody says, it wasn't Shmuel Beis when David had sinned with Bathsheba. So the Navi was castigating him. He was giving him musr, and it was actually alluding to the Yetzer Hara that he had. So in the mashal that he gave him, it was a mashal with a wealthy person and a poor person. That the wealthy had a lot and the poor person had only one sheep. It says that he went and he came, which again of halach is like passing by, for the wealthy person that's referring to David. And he didn't want to take from his own sheep and his own flock to make for the guest. So you see, now he's being called a guest already. It says, and then he took the ewe of the poor man, and it says he made it for the man, like a ish is like a term of the Baal Bayis, who came to him. So again, you see that, again, the Yetzer Hara starts off like just passing by, and becomes like a guest, and then becomes like a balabas. Now, regarding some of the primary elements of the Yetzer Hara, it says, there's a small organ in a person, in a man, which refers to his male member, that Marivoi, if he starves it, Sava, then he's going to be satiated, meaning he's going to have a lot of vigor. Sava, if he satiates it, which means to say that he goes and has a lot of tashmish, then Ra'av, which Taisa says is specifically by daytime and by nighttime, but if he satiates it Ra'av, then he's going to be hungry, meaning he's going to lose energy when he gets older. A well-known interpretation of this Gemara is that actually if you want to conquer that taiva of arayas, if you starve yourself from it, you'll actually feel satisfied. The more you try and get more, you actually get hungry and hungry and hungry. Somebody says the pasuk in Hosea says kimarisam, like that which is afflicted, like his bow will be satiated, etc. Which that's why Yarm Libam the pasuk says al kin shechachuni, because it actually kimarisam is if you afflict, you starve it, then they're going to be satiated. Okay. Thank you for hosting us. Stop now.